Hello and welcome back to Visit Fylde Coast. It's a gorgeous morning after all that wind and all that rain. Choose how long it stops like this, that's another question. It's beach clean day today and all our troops are out in force on the beach, and I've got a dodgy leg so I'm not beach cleaning, but I am going to go make you a video because the diggers are digging. They're down there, look, they're busy at work somewhere. So we're going to go and have a look and we're going to do this week's update and see what's happening. So don't forget, make sure that you've subscribed, make sure that you've hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to subscribe for your Visit Fylde Coast email newsletter, and then you'll get all the latest updates straight into your inbox every week. So let's go and have a look, shall we? Let's go and see what's happened and where they're up to. So if you come to Russell Beach quite often, you'll have noticed these information boards. These were done by our Russell Beach group. This one, this one looks quite shabby and quite worse for wear. That's because it's been in the sea twice and being reclaimed. The board wasn't very well fastened according to how the manufacturer sent it to us. So when the waves have hit underneath it at the back, when it's been high tide, it's popped them off and they've ended up going out to sea, but it's fortunately washed up. In fact, we could do with a note on it to say why, couldn't we? And then Kevin has refitted it at the back with a lot more screws and bolts. But that's why that one looks a bit shabby. The frames are all getting ready for painting as well. And this is that big terminal groin as was. And this is what they're taking to bits this morning. So that's what they're doing. They're taking the stones out and then they're moving them further down onto the beach. Now, I've kept mentioning that when they built this, it was really high and it had a Y shape, a bit like sort of Jesus on the cross. So at the end of here, there were two arms that went like that. They're under the beach, and you can just see some of the bits of the top just poking out of the sand there. But it's amazing how far down they go and how much sand is built up around it. So when all of the groins are built and in place, this is the effect that you're going to get, that the sand builds up around the rocks and you don't end up with loads of rocks stuck up above the sand. Now look, we've got two stalwarts here, busy picking the plastic out of the plants. And here comes the dumper truck. So they were telling me that if you get run down by one of these big yellow trucks, the problem is not it collapsing your leg and squashing your leg. The problem is that squashing your leg forces all your blood and all your bodily fluids elsewhere into your body, so your body kind of pops internally, which I thought was slightly gruesome, but very interesting. I'm going to give it vapours now. I'm going to go down and ask this banksman where they're putting these stones that they're taking up. I'm glad I went and asked him now. Apparently at that end where they're working, there's about 4 or 5 metres of rocks underneath the beach. So this little caterpillar thing, this little yellow thing that's tracking up and down, he's compacting the sand back where they've been working. So when they've been working, they do try to compact the sand as much as they possibly can. But obviously it's a working environment and it's a coastal process. So if it's soft because it's a beach. So there's 4 or 5 metres of sand over the rock at that end. So just imagine, as it tapers up, how deep these rocks must be at this end. There must be some fair quantity of sand over the top of there. I bet the seagulls are enjoying it as well. I bet there's loads of pickings coming up. It's a lovely morning. I've just said to him, not a bad day for a job like this. He said, but it weren't last week. So these are the big rocks that they're taking off. And they're taking them down to reuse them on the other groins. They're going down to 6, 7 and 8, which are down that end. So these big rocks are going back into the job, these ones. And these are the little rocks that are not kind of compliant with the job that they're doing at the moment. So they're going to be storing some of them at the side of the cafe again, and putting some of them up near the 5-bar gate. I can feel the muscles tensing because I'm too near. They know I am. I mean, they're right, really. You can't be working on a beach and having people faffing about around you, can you? Very interesting. Oh, rock pools. I think these are the rock pools, aren't they? So we'll go and have a look at these, because they're putting the rock pools around the ends of the groins so that there's a proper watery environment when the tide goes out. So they've made these by carving out an indentation into the rock. So rather than it being a sandy rock pool that changes every day like you get round the existing ones, it's actually a proper water on rock. So it's a different environment, and you'll get things living in it and growing in it. It's not easy to walk on this beach. You me buffing. Sound like an old man. Or are these the rock pools? Have I got the wrong ones? I think I might have got the wrong ones. Anyway, there are rock pools with holes cut out of them. No, it's not these. These are just rocks. These are just rocks. But similar to this, they've got sort of indentations that will hold water when the tide goes out. So as they're working, they're bringing stones out of the compound to store them on the beach, because they haven't got enough space inside the compound to be able to store everything that they have delivered. There's only enough room in the compound for about 2 or 3 days deliveries of rocks, so they've got to move them out onto site. So what they do is they put 2 lines like that, and they're going to build the groin. They're going to build the groin in the centre. So the groin will come in a straight line up to that. That was funny. This class of kids. This class of kids that's just gone past, and we're all shouting, "We watch your videos! We watch your videos!" Apparently they've watched them in class. So they're going to build a groin that joins up to this toe protection, and that will then hold the top section of the beach in place. And the sand will start to build up over the top of this as it comes up on high tides. You can see how the sand and the shingle looks sort of shabby and dirty. That's because the tide's been up this last week. It's been really rough, and there's been foam blowing and water over the top section. So we'll end up with a bit of a dune along here. And here's another one. This is another one of our signs. The best beach is a high shingle beach. And that's what we're busy building. I mean, look at that. That's what Cleveleys Beach looked like when the steps had been finished, and you kept getting this channel coming across and this big sandbank. So building groins will build the beach up against these steps here and stop a channel like that from forming next to the sea wall. That was really funny, that. They're all waving. Hiya. And this is a bit of underlay that they've lost. So obviously when they're taking the old groins to bits, they're as careful as they can be to try and make sure that they collect everything and pick it all up, but they're not going to get it all. There's an odd few bits that end up going AWOL. Oh, it's a lovely morning. I particularly wanted to show you this bit here, because people have tutted and blowed about these toe protection rocks. These are laid over the end of the concrete sea wall. So this old sea wall comes down and it goes underneath the beach like that, and these rocks are laid along the edge of the concrete to protect it from being eroded and undermined. And you can see that it's been really rough, it's been really windy, and the sea's been very choppy. I mean, I've been watching it and it's been very choppy. And you can see how the pebbles have stopped banked up to the wall, almost like they were when they were built. They look barely any different to what they did when they were put in. And as a consequence, there's a nice high shingle bank against the seawall, which protects it from big waves forming, and it protects it from the actual seawall being undermined. That is a big difference to how it was before. It's about 2 years since this beach was so low, if you'd have jumped off here, you'd have broken your neck. All the sheet piles were exposed, all the bottom of the foundations were exposed, all the bottom of the seawall was exposed. It was a right mess. And I would have thought it's pretty obvious, but do not climb on the rocky groins. You might hurt yourself. Do not run in front of a moving car, you might get knocked down. Honestly. Anyway, so I don't know whether you can see from here, we might be too far away, but this groin here is part completed, the one where the litter pickers are. And the sand's already building up against the side of that one. Goodness, that has increased. So you can see how the sand's built up against these rocks that they've already done. This is your crossover ramp, and then the rocks will be joined from here up to the top protection that they've already put in. And even after all that really rough weather, it's still in place and still where it should be. And there's not actually much difference between one side and the other. If you stand here and look down the length of the groin, it's a tudge lower on the right hand side, which is your side, the drift, the North Shore drift comes that way and the weather comes that way usually. So this is the side that you would expect it to erode if it were going to do. But there's barely any difference. A couple of inches, maybe a foot at most. Probably a foot. But not marked. Are you ready? It's going to thunder. Do you know the times I've thought it's been thundering? Anyway, that's your update for today. It's a lovely morning. I don't know how long it's going to stop like this. Be interesting to see. Probably not very long. So I hope you've enjoyed that little update and little wander around the beach. And today's story from Cleveleys. So until next time, we'll see you later. Bye for now.